What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Unique Experience, part of the Fujibo Heavy channel. Today I'm going to share with you my current project and experience. Alright guys, once again, thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Unique Experience. If you're new to the channel, my name is John, and my personal goal is to own and experience as many unique cars as possible. So, without further ado, this is the car. This is a 2007 Aston Martin Vantage V8. For those who follow the channel, this is my second Aston Vantage V8. I've had one before in speed yellow. This is the car that actually replaced my 2016 BMW M4 in Tanzanite Blue. It was in the last video. So, to give you guys a little background as to what the car is and why I chose it, as I mentioned, it's a 2007 Aston Martin Vantage V8. It has a 4.3 liter V8 under the hood. This particular car has a 6-speed manual transmission. Usually when you get these cars, you can get them in automatic or you can get the 6-speed manual. For me, whether the car is fast or not, you know, I prefer the manual just because it's a lot more engaging. If you've watched my channel and you've seen the videos, you know that power isn't really important to me. Aesthetics are. I really like things that are unique and things that aesthetically look good. And honestly, I absolutely love the way that these Astons look. This particular car is in onyx black or black onyx, and basically from a distance it does look like it's a gloss black, but it is a metallic black. It has a lot of metallic flake when the sun hits it. To give you guys a little backstory as to how I got the car, once I was done modifying my 2016 BMW M4, I put it out on the market for what I felt like it was worth, and then I was always open to trades of comparable value. Somebody had reached out to me with this car. When he had it, the only thing that was really done to it is it had the Maxton design front lip, and it also had Velocity AP cat deletes. Otherwise, it was pretty much stock. The car currently has 36,000 miles on it. I believe it had around 32,000 when I first picked it up. And since then, obviously, I have made some aesthetic modifications. So the first thing I'll do is, I guess the first step is I'll cover why I chose the Aston. So as I've mentioned to you guys, aesthetics are really important to me, and in addition to that, I like things that are uncommon, things that you don't see often on the road. And you know, I don't know how it is in your area, but in my area where I live, you really don't see Astons too often on the road. And I get it, right? At the end of the day, these cars, they look timeless, they look awesome, but like on the inside, they are pretty dated when it comes to technology. And for the price point of what you could buy one of these at, there are so many other options, so I completely get that. But the yellow one that I had, I absolutely loved it. At the time, I just needed back seats, so I ended up selling that for the 997 C2S Aero car that I owned twice. And when the opportunity came up to own one again, and I saw how clean it was, and after speaking to the owner, I decided to do a trade. So I actually traded my M4 for this Aston. So the owner was in Tampa, Florida. I'm obviously here in Maryland. We ended up meeting up halfway in South Carolina, and that's when we did the trade. Obviously, prior to the meetup, there's a lot of text messages, a lot of phone conversations, photos and videos back and forth, just to ensure that, you know, all bases are covered on both parties. So, with this car, as I mentioned, I absolutely love the way that they look. I think it has a very elegant look. It's not super crazy. It doesn't have crazy body lines that are very aggressive. The outside is just very simple yet elegant. On the inside, when you step in there, there's not a ton of stuff going on, but it's a prime example of just how less is more, right? It's extremely, you know, bare bones, you know, when you go inside, but it is comfortable, and there are just little features here and there that make it so unique. For example, when you open up the doors, they open up at a 15-degree angle. They're called Swan Doors, and the thought process behind that is that if you pull up next to a curb, because the car naturally sits pretty low, you won't hit the curb. When you look at the gauge cluster, you know, you have the RPM you know, you have pretty much the speedometer here and the RPM, and what's really cool is, you know, as you start driving, you know, the speedometer goes one way and then the RPM goes the opposite way, and it's pretty cool because once, you know, you're higher in speed, higher in RPM, it almost is like wings, like the logo. It's just something that I noticed. The e-brake is on the left-hand side. So normally in standard cars, the e-brake's on the right-hand side. How it works with this car is it's actually on the left side. So what you do to engage the e-brake, you pull it up and then put it back down. That engages it. To disengage it, you just pull it back up until you can't anymore and pull it slightly further up and put it back down. That'll disengage the e-brake. Thought process behind that is once you step out the vehicle, you know, if you were to lift up the e-brake like a standard vehicle, if you were to lift it up and you get out on the left side, you would hit the e-brake. With this, since you pull it up and put it back down, that makes it easier for you to kind of get out of the car. So just really small details like that just make it really unique and special to me. So to kind of take things a step further, to make it my own, obviously I had to modify it and add my touches to it. So as I mentioned, when I first got the car, it had the Maxed in Design front lip. The finish is gloss black and the material is almost like an ABS plastic. And for me, if I'm gonna do a kit or something along those lines, I feel like it's very important that everything flows together. So what I decided to do is I ordered the full Maxed in Design kit, and it's actually made in Poland, and that includes the side skirts, it includes side splitters, a rear diffuser, and a wing. Now most of the components do come in this same gloss black ABS finish, so the front lip, side skirts, the rear splitters, and the wing, but the rear diffuser was like a fiberglass material, so I actually had to have that painted gloss black just to flow with the rest of the kit. The Maxed in Design wing is a good looking wing. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like the stock E46 M3 wing. It's just like very small and subtle lip wing. It does have a little bit more of an aggressive, like tapered lip to it, but to me, I felt like it did not flow with the rest of the kit, especially the rear diffuser because it has fins and everything. So I ended up changing out the wing to a different style, which was has more of like a squared off duck bill type of boot lid. So you know, with my generation Aston, if you look at the boot lid, it's very smooth, and if you look at the newer generations where basically it has the same headlights, the body style, everything's still the same, but you know, the front bumper, side skirts, rear bumper is different, and the trunk has more of that squared off boot lid, and that's kind of the look I was going for. So with the add-on lip wing, I was able to kind of achieve that look. The wing itself, when I first got it, was carbon, but because on this particular car, you guys know I love carbon, on this particular car, there's no other carbon on the car, and I believe everything needs to flow together, so I actually had it color matched to the car. I didn't do gloss black like I did the rear diffuser. The reason I did gloss black on the rear diffuser is because the whole lower kit was all gloss black. And because the wing sits higher, it is a panel that, you know, sits higher up that people can see. I thought it would be best to just color match it. After that, it was just kind of small changes that I did. The window trim around the windows is chrome normally. I had all of that wrapped in gloss black vinyl. I changed, I had the rear side markers, rear reflectors also smoked. The front reflectors are normally orange. I had those replaced by a company called Clears. They are black housing, smoked side markers. I actually have replacement housings for the back, but it involves removing the rear bumper, and I really didn't want to do all that. Just really don't have the time to do it, but I do have them in the event I have to take off the rear bumper. I can replace them while it's out. Other than that, the only other changes aesthetically is the car is lowered on H&R Sport lowering springs. It lowers it 3/4 of an inch all the way around. You know, initially I think I'm used to lowering, you know, Civics or something like that, right? You normally are looking for like a 2-inch, 2.5-inch drop, but one thing that you have to keep in mind is, you know, cars like Honda Civics and Celicas and stuff like that sit a lot higher from the factory, so, you know, it requires that 2-inch drop to kind of get what you could achieve on a car, you know, car like this doesn't require as much of a drop because it already sits lower, you know, than a lot of, you know, standard cars. The other thing that I did was the OEM wheels, for whatever reason, on these cars are, the specs on them are pretty conservative, so they sit pretty far into the fender well. You know me, I like my cars to sit pretty flush and have a pretty aggressive fitment, right? Because I think stance can make or break a car, so suspension and wheels. The previous owner had put a set of H&R wheel spacers on it, on the factory wheels. They were gloss black, and I believe they were 15 millimeters up front, 25 millimeters in the back. I did obviously replace the factory wheels with a set of 19-inch Apex EC7s in satin bronze. I did a 19 by 10 with a 42 offset in the front and 19 by 11 in the back with a 50 offset. Initially, it was definitely more of an aggressive fitment, but I wanted it even more if it could work. So I tried putting the spacers that were on the OEM wheels on these, and it actually worked out perfectly. Like, you definitely wouldn't want them out much more than they are right now. But other than those things, that is pretty much all the aesthetic mods. Oh yeah, the windows are tinted. It's 5% all the way around. I had the windshield done in 50. And performance-wise, like I said, it has velocity AP cat deletes. One of the first things that people do to Vantages when they get them is you can pull the fuse in the back. Fuse 12 will actually, the car has a valved exhaust system that's controlled by RPM, usually around 4,000 RPMs is when it opens. If you pull fuse 12, it leaves the flaps open. It actually has a really nice tone to it. Before I was okay with that, but I do like the way that it sounds with the cat deletes. It has a pretty raw sound. It actually kind of sounds like a Mustang, which is pretty funny. But that is pretty much everything that's done to the car. So, you know, like I said, for me, it's just a really good looking car. I finally have it to a point where, you know, I think that it looks really good. I guess the most common question that I get with this car is reliability, maintenance, right? I will tell you, prior to looking into Astons, without any personal experience, I just assumed that they were extremely, you know, expensive to maintain and they had to go to the dealership. But things have actually changed for quite a while, thanks to other sources out there like Red Pants. My buddy Richard Seidlitz started a company called Red Pants several years ago, and you know, he is the one that actually gave me the confidence that I needed to jump into a car like this. And basically, with this generation Aston, the V8 model especially, there are actually several interchangeable parts between Ford, Jaguar, and Volvo. Between Richard and then other sources out there, if you're savvy enough to cross-reference parts, it'd be the difference of spending $300 on engine air filters versus $30. So with Richard and the company redpants.lol, if you go to the website, not only does he kind of do the homework for you, like for example, if you need a thermostat, he'll sell you the Jaguar thermostat, which does the same thing. It's just a fraction of the price of the Aston Martin one. In addition to that, he also does DIY videos on YouTube, which makes maintaining these vehicles a lot more manageable than people may think, especially if you are a DIYer. Overall, it's been super solid. As I mentioned, this one currently has about 36,000 miles on it. I've put about 4,000 miles on it since I've owned it. And it's just been super solid. Basically, when I first got the car, I went through the maintenance list that I was given, and then I watched one of Richard's videos and compared the maintenance schedule, you know, 1 through say 10, and compared what was done and what needed to be done. So from a mileage perspective, you know, they'll say 1 year, 10,000 miles, 2 year, 20,000 miles, 3 year, 30,000 miles. So from a mileage perspective, you know, certain things don't need to be done, but from an age perspective, it all should be done. So I do have a bunch of maintenance parts at the house that I just need to make time to install on it, such as engine air filters, cabin air filters, OEM, Aston spark plugs, thermostat, PCV valve, things of that nature. So I highly recommend these cars. To me, these cars are just timeless. I mean, they're very uncommon. Another one of the questions that I get all the time is people will ask me, how does this Aston compare to your 911, like my 997 C2S, for example? And to be honest with you, my response is normally they don't compare, right? Because to me, the 911 is more of a sports car, right? It has good power, it handles like it's on rails, it is designed to be a sports car. The Vantage is more of a, while it is sporty, it's more of a grand touring car. So grand touring cars aren't necessarily designed to be the fastest thing on the road or the best handling thing on the road, but they are designed to be comfortable, they are designed to be unique, they sound great, and just awesome all-around cars that you could just use every day if you wanted to. So that's my answer as far as, you know, how this compares to like the 911, because the 997 C2S is still to this day, believe it or not, my favorite all-around car in general. When it comes to aesthetics, I think this one is very, very close to the top, next to the NSX and the 997 C2S for me. But that's pretty much the car, guys. You know, it's a really, really good-looking, unique, uncommon car, and you know, everywhere it goes, it's just, you know, it feels special. It just has a road presence that's unlike any other car. As I mentioned before this, I did have a BMW M4, which was actually a really, really good all-around car, and you know, it was fast, it was very customizable, and it had been around for a while, so there's a lot of support behind it if you have any questions, because a lot of people have owned those types of cars. You know, they've tried different things, but with the Aston community, you know, it is very helpful. I do have a couple friends that own these cars that actually, you know, do things themselves and modify them, but a majority of people that own these cars usually just like to enjoy and drive them as they are, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I do like to kind of make things my own. So that's pretty much it for the Aston as far as what it is, why I got it, how I got it, you know, how it compares to the 911, and my opinion on maintenance on this car. So, alright guys, well that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed the content, consider subscribing. Until the next experience, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.